Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 14 of the Chalk Talk with Vitality Fitness podcast. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Nate Lambert. We've got Kyle Bernier, Nate Agnew, and special guest, Jess Pinkerton is in the building today. How are you doing today, Jess?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good. How was EvoFit today?
It was good. That was a tough one.
Well, you said that it was going to be easy, and so that's why you hopped in.
Well, I thought so, but the ones that you think are easy are usually the ones that are the worst. And that was one that catches up to you really quickly. Yes, classic. It wasn't easy at all.
The classic bait and switch.
Yes.
Try to cherry pick, and then you're like, whoa, bad decision.
Yeah, but I still think it was a little better than your workout over here.
Oh, and I was running them pretty hard, too, so.
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
It's a tough workout.
But we're going to get in today, right into it. We want to start by talking about how you met your lovely, wonderful teddy bear of a husband, Steve. Now, how did you guys meet? Because we were just talking before.
We actually met at college. So we both went to a really small liberal arts college in Michigan called Albion. And he is 2 years older than me. And we actually didn't meet until his senior year.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, and he was already planning to go into the Marine Corps. So he was getting ready to leave for OCS and TBS, those training schools. And I still had 2 more years to go. So most of our relationship was long distance.
Man,
phone,
classic.
back when you'd actually write letters.
Oh, man.
There really wasn't texting back then. So it was like those 2 years until I graduated from college were pretty much a long distance relationship. He would come home here and there between training and between schools. But it wasn't until after I graduated, the weekend after I graduated college, we got married. So 1 weekend after.
Jeez. And how long had y'all been together at that point?
About a year.
Okay.
And then the next day, we got married on a Saturday. The next day was a Sunday. We moved to 29 Palms, California, where he was stationed. That was his first duty station. And so, yeah, that was like the start of our lives, being uprooted from our small little towns in Michigan, going to the middle of the Mojave Desert.
Oh my gosh.
I was a pre-med student, and so my parents were expecting big things from me, and instead I got married to a Marine. And
moved to California.
And moved to California, where there's no schools that I can go to. So I did my master's entirely online while he was deployed. He had 2 deployments. But it was really good. I mean, I met some great friends there. We didn't really have a lot to do, so we had a lot of quality time when he was home. But yeah, that was kind of the start of our relationship. So the first 8 years that we were together, he was in the Marine Corps. So that was definitely a different life. Yeah. He was stationed here in Charlotte for 3 years for recruiting duty. So that's how we ended up here. And at the end of that billet, you decide if you want to go back to a recruiting billet would be what you'd have to do if you stay in. So we said, well, CrossFit was just on the radar at that point, and we were both really into it. He had learned about it in the Marine Corps and had done a lot of the training there. And so we're like, well, let's just take a leap of faith, which was a huge leap of faith because, you know, it was not really any of our backgrounds, but we loved fitness. So we decided to do it. We took our level 1 cert at CrossFit Charlotte, which was at that time the only CrossFit gym in Charlotte. You know, they were it. And so from there, we started in our garage. We had about 15 to 20 people that came to our garage and trained, which is hilarious now looking back at it. I remember we made, which I don't know where Steve thought, it's probably from the Marine Corps, but he made what's called a slosh pipe. Okay. So he took this big PVC and filled it with water, capped the ends of it, and we would have like these teams of 5 run up and down our street.
What?
Carrying the slosh pipe. And they would do it. I mean, willingly. They're like, all right, this is great. Awesome. And our neighbors were like, what is going on here? Like, cool. There's probably some regulations in our neighborhood against that, but we had a lot of fun. And when we saw that was growing pretty well, we're like, well, let's do it. We found the perfect spot, which again was just up the road from here, and that's kind of how the story started.
Now, were you working out before then? Before you guys found CrossFit?
Oh,
what were
yeah.
you doing?
I mean, we always loved working out. The whole time he was in the Marine Corps, I was just the typical gym gym rat. So I would go in for at least 2 hours, do every machine, 45 minutes of cardio, alternating between the treadmill and the stair mill, and it was monotonous. Like but it was just the routine. So I would spend that, and this was before kids, so I had all the time in the world to just go and do that.
Thanks Charlie and Reagan.
Yeah, that changed, but
mom's life over here.
Well, thank goodness for CrossFit, because it's so much more time efficient, really. Yeah. I mean, I was spending a lot of time, and even up until we opened the gym, Reagan was 2 at that point. I was taking her to Lifestyle Family Fitness. 2 hours in the daycare was the max you could put your child in. So I maxed it out. 2 hours of me time, and I would use it. I would go through all the machines, all the equipment, but finding CrossFit kind of turned my world around, because I was like, how can you get a really good workout in 10 minutes or 8 minutes? I'm like, there's no way. And I didn't really have that gear to go all out like you have to do to really see. It took me a long time to be able to push myself like that. But once I did, I saw benefits that I'd never seen with my typical running or, steady state type training. So, we were members at Lifestyle Family Fitness. I was a swimmer in high school, so I was always active with that.
Very cool. That's interesting.
Yep, and then in college, the same thing, just lots of time at the gym doing the typical stuff. So this is definitely this is the most muscle I've probably ever had, because those type of activities are they kind of break down muscle mass. I was very thin, very lean, but not really as healthy as you are when you can actually do the functional movements and that kind of thing. So
now I've heard a rumor about you and your morning routines. Do you have a morning routine that consists of? I've heard a couple. I've heard there was 100 thrusters, 100 push-ups. I've heard that every morning.
I've heard about a 5 a.m. walk.
Then I've heard the walk, the speed walk. Yeah, I've heard about the speed walk. And also holding the phone with the cord that Steve hated you doing.
And so Steve bought you some wireless headphones, and you never used them until you got the little AirPods.
Yeah.
And it infuriated him so bad. I remember that.
We've got to put some of these rumors to fact or fiction.
I'm actually very thankful for you guys, because I know Steve probably vents a lot to you about things.
You're so right.
And I appreciate that. But okay, so I don't do 100 thrusters or 100 burpees.
Okay, all right.
I wish I had the energy to do that, but I do.
I was very impressed when I heard that every morning. I was like, that's.
You probably heard it and you're like, man, I'm gonna start doing that, man.
I did. I was like, holy crap.
Day one, here we go.
Start the day off right. But no, I do get up and walk, because I just like to have time to myself. So before anybody's up, it's 5:45. I get up and I walk 3 miles with my phone, listening to podcasts. Yeah. And I did for years, just listen to it, without any earphones. I would just put it on and let it play, because nobody's out that time in the morning, and there's not a lot of cars going by. But I did get the wireless earbuds, and those really changed my life. It's a lot easier. It's just better with those. So
are you walking now, in the mornings? It's cold.
Yeah, I just bundle up.
Oh my goodness!
And you walk 3 miles.
Yep. It's just 2 loops around my neighborhood.
How long does that take you?
Yeah,
30 minutes.
I was gonna say, because it takes a good bit to walk a mile.
Yeah.
So you're walking pretty fast then.
She's booking. She's got them.
That's cool.
But it's not like a workout at all. It's just me kind of my time to myself. And then when I get back, I'm ready to wake everybody up and tackle the morning routine.
When it comes to the morning stuff, what's it like? What's it like getting the girls rolling? How hard is that? Because I know Steve, you don't have to do anything for a guy like Steve.
No, and Steve's out. He's gone before the girls even get up. So it's tough. My girls are not morning people, and I am. So it's really hard getting them up and going. It's a lot of yelling, a lot of eat your breakfast or we're leaving without it. Okay. You're going to be hungry. I still have to dress Charlie, put on her shoes, brush her teeth, and then she's probably half awake, by the time we get to school. But it's an early morning, and I feel like at some point they're going to get in the routine of it. Reagan's better now because she can do pretty much everything by herself. Yeah. She just drags her feet.
Just needs the push.
Yeah.
I have a question as far as when you go on those walks.
We're still on the walk.
Well, I just 30 minutes is a long time, right? And I don't really listen to podcasts. I mean, I do, but I don't. And if you listen to podcasts, if that's your thing.
Yeah, you're listening to...
But
you should listen.
I should, but here's my question. And a lot of times, and I don't know if it's happenstance, but when you're coaching, there happens to be a specific type of music on. Now, I don't know if you chose that, but is there any point where you're walking and you're listening to rap? Like, are you listening? Because I feel like a little part of you probably likes rap. Like, you're probably
because that's what I listen to in my classes.
It just is on a lot of times.
So
on. When I picture you walking in the morning, I picture you like 15 minutes of the podcast, 15 minutes like Young Thug. Like, that's honest.
I would probably be jogging if that was.
Waking you up.
She hears that beat drop and she's going.
The juices flowing.
I like rap when you're working out, like when you're pushing it. Okay. But probably on my walks, I wouldn't listen to it. And
Carolina beach music, some Otis Redding.
Well, and I really don't listen to any music. I have if you could see my podcast list, I have so many, and I feel like I get behind even not listening. So I listen when I'm driving or when so I don't listen to like a lot of music outside of just what I'm coaching with. And I feel like that's the music that gets the ladies pumped too. Like gets them going.
No, it gets everybody.
Yes. So I like it for that.
But let's think. You have to listen to something in the car when the girls are in the car. So how many times have you guys listened to the Frozen soundtrack in the car?
We actually don't listen to Frozen. We listen to country.
Nice.
Country's our favorite, and the girls like it too. Good. So I always just have, I'm going to say the station wrong, but is it 96.9?
96.9
Cat. Yeah, that's what I always have.
Paul Shad in the morning.
Yeah.
See, Kyle doesn't know anything about that.
Dude, I have my presets.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
2 of them are 96.9 and then
103.7 WSOC. Let's go.
I remember 6:10 a.m. Y'all don't know about that life. You don't know 6:10. You don't listen to AM, do you?
What's on 6:10 a.m.?
WFNZ 6:10 Sports in the morning.
6:10 a.m.
Oh my gosh. The Mac Attack.
Sorry.
That's what you need to listen to in the morning.
On my walks, I need to.
It starts at 6 a.m., so it's a little late. It's 6 to 10 every morning.
She just needs to start acquiring as many sports stats as possible.
If you want to learn something, I'm telling you. But I asked that just because I thought, like, I don't know, it'd be cool if you were just listening to like Lil Baby walking around.
I may have to try that.
Lil Baby?
You haven't listened?
As much as Steve likes Eminem, I feel like there should have been some carryover to Jess. So I'm happy to know that it's grown on her a little bit.
So podcasts. You said you listen to podcasts. You love listening to podcasts every morning. So what type of podcasts are you looking for when you're listening?
They're all nutrition related. Okay.
That's awesome.
So I have lots of them that are keto related, some paleo related, some like bulletproof, the Bulletproof podcast. Yeah. Sometimes I'll listen to, okay, you're going to have to cut that, but it's the guy that Joe Rogan.
Oh. Yeah!
So, take that out, but I couldn't think of his name. But yeah, I like some of the people he has on too. That's so interesting. Mm-hmm. But most of them are the ketogenic diet people, the leaders in the keto community, and they're talking about kind of the newest research or, the different things that can happen when you're going through a ketogenic diet. So I like to stay on top of those.
Okay.
And that's one thing I think is really neat is because I think you taking a holistic approach to your learning is really neat because I feel like even our community has kind of seen you become, they kind of see you just as the keto person, but I know that's not all the knowledge you're drawing from, and I really respect that.
Yeah.
And so
this is really off topic. I just thought of this.
Tell me.
This couldn't be further from the topic.
Tell me, I'm ready.
This is basically my job on the podcast is like they talk about really serious stuff, and I'm kind of just not thinking about it.
We need it. So keep it going.
No, do you? Oh man, this is weird.
Do it.
Do you remember the time? This is probably years ago. We were definitely still at the old place when you were getting your hair done, and I walked in at that place over near Huntersville, and do you remember that?
Where I'm getting my hair.
I was getting my hair cut too, and I walked in, and I didn't know where my lady's stuff. I didn't know where her studio was, and I walked back, and there you were, and you're like, "Oh, hey, Nate." And I was like, "Well, this isn't my lady. This is someone else."
All right.
I don't remember.
I don't know what made me think
but
of
I
that.
did. I mean, that's where I used to go get my hair done.
Yeah.
Before Fallon was down here.
Yeah. Her name was Ty.
That's kind of creepy.
Oh, that's a good memory because I totally don't remember that name.
Yeah,
all right. Well,
she doesn't care about you at all.
No, of course I do. I still remember when you would come in after school and do all the odd chores
Oh, yeah.
at the old Vitality, and I was so thankful for that because I was the one doing the chores beforehand. I was scrubbing the toilets and doing all those things, and Steve's like, no, we've got a young guy that's going to come in and do that, and he stays late and like helps lock up and stuff. I was like, oh yes, you can come home earlier.
There we go.
So yes, you've been saving us for a long time.
So you mean to tell me that Steve could come home earlier and then go back to the bedroom, put his blue blockers on, and not talk to anybody,
and lay down and watch sports updates and stuff.
6:10 a.m. You guys could talk about it.
So yeah, since we segued into Steve real quick, how regimented, in your opinion, like viewing him, how regimented is that man? Like,
he is very regimented.
Is it more than you?
Same.
More than you?
Yes, very much so. I've never met anyone as regimented as he is, and I think he just knows his personality. You know how there's people that if you're not all in, you're kind of all out, and he's gone through parts of his life where he was all out, mainly college, and he had a good time and just was more laid back. But with the Marine Corps and everything, he is all in. He realizes, he's had issues with ulcerative colitis.
That's right. I forgot about having UC.
Yep. So he's had to really dial in his diet first for that, and now just as a way, he's always wanting to challenge himself. And whether it's, seeing how little peanut butter he can eat. Now that if he's eating too much peanut butter, he'll be like, it's only one day. It's just a Saturday. And then he limits himself to that. Whether it's, fasting, he'll do 24-hour fasts and, see how much he can push his body. Whether it's alcohol, he does not drink. Yeah. And people are like, well, isn't that kind of sad? I'm like, I have a constant DD whenever I need it.
I'm going out with the girls.
And I'm not a big drinker, don't get me wrong, but he's great about that. He's always like, just I'll go. He can have a good time. He doesn't need the alcohol to do that. And so I have a lot of respect for the way he can just, say, this is what I'm going to do, and he sticks to it.
That's hard to do.
With that being said, I'm curious, because you guys just went to Turks and Caicos.
Yes.
Whenever he does unwind, what does that look like?
Probably a lot of reading.
Yeah, he does love to have
I can't wait to go get in front of a good book this weekend.
No, but I'm serious. And he does, and they're not just like, for me, if I'm going to read for pleasure, it's going to be a novel that is just mindless. Right. But for him, it's a financial book about how to grow your business, or he just really enjoys doing that. Yeah. And so that's him, like laying by the pool with a book, being able to cook breakfast so that he knows it's a breakfast that he can eat, and he'll cook for everyone. He loves to cook. Another great thing about him, he's a great cook and he loves to cook for everybody.
He's a really good cook.
Yeah, so that's how he kind of unwinds, and just not having children around is a really good way to.
Big help for him.
We love our children, but it was nice to get away for 5 days. So
now, how much has his personality influenced you? Were you guys similar when you first met, or has he infected you?
No, I was always.
It's like a disease.
Yes,
he is very infectious.
She caught the Pinkerton bug.
No, but I was always really strict with just eating well and exercising and all of that too. So I think that's why we kind of were drawn to each other. Really, different points in life. I think I'm a little bit more lax and he's a little bit more strict, and vice versa. But we always help keep each other accountable. Right. And it's funny because his family, he's got two brothers. He's the third, and a sister. And his brothers are totally opposite. Really? They'll eat anything. They go out to fast food. They're state troopers. They are amazing guys, great guys, but just totally opposite of Steve. His sister's more similar, more health conscious, but he more the type that would make fun of him, like, oh, come on, you loosen up and da da da. Yeah. But yeah, it's just something that we've always kind of done together.
Wow, it's really cool.
Another thing I wanted to ask was, with the girls, what's it? Oh man, how do I say it? What's it like around the house when let's say Charlie does something bad?
Discipline. What's discipline?
Like?
I will say, when Charlie does something bad, it's not half as much discipline as when Reagan does something bad.
Really?
We won't let Reagan listen to the podcast.
Yeah, and Reagan knows. She can tell. Oh, Charlie's younger too, but Steve is tough when it comes to discipline, and that's another thing I appreciate about him, because they're not going to mess with him. Now, me, on the other hand, they know I'm not quite as strict, but he'll get out the belt and you know, and he'll give them the belt, and as hard as that is, they respond to it. You know, I can take Reagan's iPad away 100 times, but if she knows Dad's coming with the belt, it's a little bit different. And that seems horrible, but I think you have to do what your kids are going to respond to, and they'll only do it once. I mean, it's a really tough lesson, and then we'll also probably take the iPad away and not let her call her friends or whatever it is too.
Because that's the thing, I think all three of us came from houses like that.
Oh yeah.
I was physically abused for years.
Y'all be in prayer. Y'all be in prayer today.
I was also probably a really bad kid.
Well, look how good you all turned out. That's the thing. Yes, there's
if you were to come over to 270 South Circle,
270 South Circle, we got knives in the wall, and
we just did a lot of guy stuff. Just did a lot of dude stuff.
No, but that I mean, that is good, because I feel like, and I'm not a parent obviously, but I think that it's fun fact.
Good for you.
But I feel like this day and age, that type of discipline is almost like shunned.
Yeah,
like,
and that's why you
shouldn't be happening.
Like, she even said it. She was like, "That sounds bad," but that's kind of how culture shifted.
Well, and the kids know. They know we both love them a ton. We're doing it out of place of, you know, wanting what's best for them and helping them to be the best people they can be. And it's not like Steve's coming home and taking his aggression out on the children, because that's not the case at all.
He just comes to work.
Yeah, that's again why I thank you guys.
Takes it on Aggie all the time.
Oh man, it's a scary thought.
That's good though. Your kids will grow up and be brats, man. You got discipline.
That's true.
Yep.
Now, I think we want to wrap it up today with kind of talking about how you take your approach to nutrition with working with people here. I think, like, my first question is, how do you kind of formulate the appropriate diet for somebody that comes to you? I know there's a lot of aspects to it.
Right, and I always like to have a consult with someone, whether it's just over email or the phone or in person, and really talk about their goals, because that's really what's going to come down to finding the perfect diet, what their goals are, what their body type is, what type of shape they're in at the current moment, and then what foods they like and know they can't give up. Because if I'm going between a paleo diet for someone and a keto diet for someone, the easiest way for me to determine what I'm going to do is say, do you prefer fruit or cheese? And if they can't live without fruit, then I know they can't do keto. If they can't live without cheese, I know they can't do paleo. You know, so it's kind of like with those two extremes. Now I can also do kind of an everything in moderation approach. I don't do as many of those plans because I find honestly that they don't work. Over the years of doing this with people, if you don't have some hard cut lines, especially in the beginning, it's really hard. Like that everything in moderation, like what does that really mean? And if I'm at a buffet, can I just have a little bit of the desserts and how much alcohol? So in the beginning, it's really good to say, okay, these are the off limit foods. It's not forever, but as we're getting our metabolism to kind of change, these are the off-limit foods and these are the on-limit foods. And then you don't have to use as much willpower. Like if there's a clear-cut line, it's so much easier to be like, nope, can't have that. Or when I'm ordering from a menu, can't have that. If I'm having my salad, I'm not going to do the cheese on it. That type of thing. And that just tends to work with people better. So I kind of sit down and just find out their likes and dislikes. If they have an underlying health condition, like a lot of people today are pre-diabetic or have diabetes, keto is a really, really good way to quickly reverse that. I mean, talking within months. They're going to go from being on insulin to being totally off of insulin. That's awesome. Keto does that. It's amazing. If they're more of an athlete wanting to kind of fine-tune things, then we can keep the carbs up a little bit, maybe up the protein and cut the fats down. It really just comes down to goals.
So if you had to choose, do you have one diet that you prefer over the other? Like, do you prefer, from a nutrition standpoint, do you prefer the ketogenic diet? Do you prefer paleo? Or is it truly just more of an individual basis? You don't have an opinion either way?
For me personally, or for everyone?
For everyone, just based on what you've heard about them, seen, that type of thing.
I really think you can't make a blanket statement about any. I think different diets are good for different people. And, you know, for 6 years, Steve and I did strict paleo. We loved paleo. We thought there would never be another diet. Didn't have dairy for 6 years. And then as I researched more about keto, I was like, well, I just want to try this for like a month and just see what it feels like.
How long ago was that?
So it's been over 3 years.
Wow.
3 years in September is when I started keto. And I did it by myself because Steve hadn't bought in yet. He's like, I'm feeling good and my workouts feel good. I don't know about this. But I'll tell you, a month in, for me, he's like, whatever you're doing, I want in. Because I have more energy than I ever had. The thing with paleo for me and being a carb burner, like a CrossFitter, was that I was always hungry. And you guys can probably relate. I mean, you've got to eat a ton of carbs.
Feed the beast.
Yeah, to feed. And that was so annoying. Like, that was when, we were trying to build the new gym, and we had no time. We had meetings with everyone. You just couldn't eat like 7 meals spread out throughout the day and pack snacks everywhere you went. And so that was one of the benefits of keto, is that you become fat adapted. You're able to tap into stored body fat in times between meals, and so you feel good.
Right, more efficient.
Yes, and it really hit home when I was reading something, and it talked about, we've all been at a restaurant where the waitress is taking forever, the kitchen's taking forever, and we get hangry. Like, we want to gnaw off our arm.
There's the word.
But even the leanest individual has over 40,000 calories of fat stored on their body at any time. So we shouldn't get that way. We should over 40,000. That'd be like you guys,
That's
lean
crazy.
individuals.
That's crazy.
So, but we can't tap into that if we're hangry. Like, why are we sitting there feeling like we have to eat when we have all this stored energy that we should be able to draw from?
Right.
But until you become fat adapted, which is cutting down the carbs for an extended period of time and letting your insulin level come down, you're not able to easily tap into that. Now, if you were to sit at the restaurant for 2 days and fast, you'd finally kick in and be miserable, but then you'd feel good. That's that euphoric feeling you get when you finally tap in. But before being keto adapted, that doesn't happen. So I knew I would be grocery shopping or doing a bunch of errands. I'd have to pack protein bars and apples and things in my bag, and I was like, I'm going to try this. And literally, there's no snacking anymore. Like, I could go all day, give or take lunch, and I still feel great. And still am able to perform well. And in the beginning, I mean, that's a huge downside. You take at least a few months where your strength is down, your endurance is down, but it comes back if you give it the time. Some people aren't willing to give it that much time because they're really, they want to perform well, they want to feel good in the moment. And I get that. I mean, goals are different. But others, if they can get past that, which for me was probably 6 months.
Jeez.
Where, 6 months of not being able to do the weights I could in the gym. I still remember hitting a wall back in the old gym. We had a wall ball workout that I had to just turn around and walk away. And I've never had to stop a workout like that. But you have no glycogen. The storage form of glucose, your muscle glycogen is gone. Right. So in time, your body's able to synthesize glycogen through different amino acids, different lactic acid and things, and so you get back to that performance level without the glucose.
It's really fascinating, actually.
There's so much interesting research. And then once you get into it more, you can do something called targeted ketogenic diet, where you add in carbs like just before and after your workout, like maybe 20 grams before, 20 grams after, so it just gives you those glucose stores, the glycogen stores, but, I mean, that's all the things we play around with, as people get more into it. So anyway, that's why I wanted to try it. I'm like, I just don't want to be hungry all the time. Yeah. And it just felt so good. The energy, the satiety, all of that, 3 years later, we have no hopes of turning back. And now, we've added dairy back in, which is something, like I said, we didn't eat for 6 years, and so that was a little bit of a change, but gosh, cheese is good on things. And I tried to do it dairy free for the first few months, and it was fine. I was doing a lot of avocados, a lot of nuts, but then, I mean, you gotta have some cheese if if your diet's working with it. So and if you can do the good quality, the Kerrygold brand, that's even better. So it's not like that's the best and best diet out there, but I find that it really does work for most people if they're able to give it the transition time, which is at least 2 months for your body to start relying on the ketones as the primary fuel source.
Yeah. Now, I mean, for me, because hearing that, it's super fascinating because I'm training right now. Like we train pretty hard and training for competition to compete at elite level, whatever. Yeah. Is it exactly feasible? I mean, would you say it's feasible for someone to do that?
I don't know about a CrossFit athlete.
Yeah. Too high of a demand, energy demand?
I feel like there is, especially at doing like a CrossFit Games weekend or CrossFit Regionals weekend. It's great for endurance athletes. Mm-hmm. So you'll see a lot of marathoners, Ironman people that are on keto but want to keep it on the down low because they don't need the gels and goos every hour or so, because now when the glucose is gone, they're relying on stored fat. Yeah. But again, that's an aerobic activity. What we're tapping into with CrossFit is that anaerobic, and
that immediate.
Yeah, it's harder. Now, I mean, you have to almost take a season off to keto adapt, because you're gonna, like I said, everything's gonna kind of go down in the beginning.
I can imagine that.
Once you have that metabolic machinery set up and the fat burning base set up, you could go back to adding carbs like around your training and that kind of thing. Again, there's not enough research on it. I don't think they've done it on like games level CrossFit athletes. Yeah. They have done it on a CrossFit gym. They did a study where it was a group of 23 people, and they did like the baseline workout, and they had them go on keto for 6 weeks and did the same workout after, and said their performance was the same, but they lost like so much percentage, I don't want to quote it wrong, but they lost a great deal more body fat than the group that stayed on their traditional diet for 6 weeks, crossfitting the exact same workouts. The performance was the same at the end, but the group on keto had lost a greater amount of body fat.
It's really fascinating.
I think
you brought up something really interesting that I want to bring up, because I don't think many people know this about you. Whenever you talk about athletes competing, I don't think a lot of people know that you went to regionals back in the day. Did you go just 1 year, or how many years did you go?
Just one.
Was that team? Was that team?
It was team, yes. And that was 2011. So again, CrossFit was very young. Looking back, it was a whirlwind, but it was a team, and there's a crazy story behind that, but you guys know the workout Amanda.
Yes.
You've done Amanda. It's squat, snatches, and muscle ups. I forget the rep scheme now.
975.
But we had to do that as a partners. So you had to pick two people from your team. Well, there's Amy Bright and I. Amy Bright had the 95-pound squat snatch. I didn't. I had muscle ups, and she didn't. Okay, this is the beginning of CrossFit again. So we're like, okay, who are we gonna throw under the bus here? So for the month that I knew about this, all I was doing was trying to get this 95-pound squat.
Nice.
And I didn't the whole time leading up to it. Even like before. So I went into this. I mean, going into the workout, I was in tears with Steve in the back, because here's all these CrossFit competitors' bodies, and then here's I weighed 95 pounds at the time. So this was a body weight squat snatch that I had to do, reps. And Crowder could go first. He was the guy that did it with me. So he could do the 9, is it first?
Yeah, 9 first.
Okay, so he did the 9. Okay, comes to me. I got it.
Yeah.
I got 21 of them.
Oh my god.
And I'd never done it before.
There's a picture of that somewhere in the facility.
Yeah.
That's where it is.
That's amazing.
But after that, I said I will never compete. Like, it was just too much. I thought my heart was just going to blow up, because I was so nervous going into it. Oh. And it was too much stress. I was not fun to live with leading up to it, because I really thought, here, I'm going to let my team down in front of everybody. And at that time, regionals was like maybe 10 spectators. It was empty stands. It was totally different. But in my mind, it was a much bigger thing. So I love cheering people on. I love going there for support, but I'm done competing. And I don't have the skill set at all at this point. CrossFit is more of just, I love it. It's for, I do it as my passion, my stress release. Yeah. But the competitive days are definitely over.
It's a different animal now.
Yes, and I will say our team was 4th.
Hey,
we were one spot away.
This might be bad to say, but that's kind of like a recurring thing. 4th place.
Yeah, Jesus, man.
First loser, right?
Whoa!
I mean that had to be hard on Steve too, because he came close several times.
And he went as an individual that year. If he would have been on our team,
oh really?
We would have gone.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Who was it? Was it Beatty was the last guy, or is it Tristan?
Tristan, Beatty, Crowder.
Okay.
Oh, that's right, because it was still a 6-person team.
3.
And we had a 4th too. Like, we had an alternate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. gosh, that's nuts.
Does Steve ever say that he wishes he would have gone team that year, or is it just kind of like?
Oh yeah, now looking back, he's like, why in the world to have any way to get to the games, whether team or individual? I mean, but he was just so, you know, he was. That the individual side wasn't that big either yet, you know, so it was the chances of him being able to go, he thought were better than they were, and it's a learning experience. Yeah. So that was the competition time.
If anybody's got any last questions, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Agnew, you got anything you want to say?
I have a quick question. It might not be quick, but we can try to make it quick. As far as Steve, when he had his bout with UC, and he changed his diet because of that, I imagine, right?
Yes.
Is that correct? Has he had any flare-ups since, or has it been pretty much quiet?
It's been quiet. And you know what he did is he did an elimination diet. So we have journals that he kept, but for like 3 months, he ate 3 things. It was chicken breast, broccoli, and sweet potato, I believe. Those 3 things.
That's hilarious because that was my diet in college for like 2 years, every single day. Every day.
That's hell, dude.
Yeah, and he did it, and but that's the thing. Then he would be able to reintroduce things like one at a time, every 3 days, be able to introduce.
Did you guys get that from Paul Check? Is he the one that you know? Paul
I've
Check?
heard of Paul Check. Yeah,
he has something similar like that.
Yeah, it was probably something that we'd heard of through the research, but. It really helped. And you know what he found was sweet potatoes were the one thing that he thought was safe, and he was eating probably 3 sweet potatoes a day. I mean, talk about carbs, you know. So since he cut that out and, you know, has been on a strict keto template, he's had no issues.
That's really awesome.
And that's a diagnosis that you think you're going to have forever. You know, even with insurance, we're like, we want to get another... what's it called, colonoscopy, so that he can get cleared of that, because his insurance will go down. You know, it's totally healed up.
There's a lot of things out there that they say are once you have it, you're done, but it's not true.
It's like you said about people like the type 2 people that have type 2. People have type 2 diabetes reversed just eating better.
It's almost always brought back to nutrition and then probably sleep. I have to say as well. Like, it's crazy.
Sleep, stress, and nutrition, and your doctor won't tell you that. I mean, they're going to give you a pill, but if you can just change your diet and get a little bit more sleep, do a little physical activity, get outside in the sunshine,
it's amazing
all
what can
those
happen.
things. Yes.
Well, Jess, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you guys. It was fun.
Guys and girls, if you haven't been up to talk to Jess, even for just a consult or anything like that, please go talk to her. She's so smart. She knows her stuff. We'll see you guys in episode 15. We'll catch you later.
Thank you.